Hello all, welcome back to my channel. Today is my part 3 of my K-pop unpopular opinions. However, you could also just call this my opinions, and I think you can even argue that some of these are not opinions and are just statements, but regardless, they're things that I want to say and want to talk about because I love the sound of my own voice, so here we go. Thank you so much for the support on the past 2 videos. I really appreciate it and I can't wait to keep making more for y'all. So without further ado, let's get started. My first opinion is that you are not obligated to stan post-promotion groups. This is in specific reference to the groups produced by the Produce 101 series. A lot of times, the groups that are created from those series only promote together for a year and a half or a year or 2.5 years, and then they disband and go back to their companies and then join groups respective of those companies. When I think about the first season with IOI, a lot of the groups that were created after IOI are not as popular as IOI ever was because a lot of people decided not to stan and support the post-promotion groups. Obviously, this is problematic in its own sense, and I don't think that this is a great practice, but I also think it's important to acknowledge that there's no obligation to stan post-promotion groups. If you don't want to, you don't have to. That doesn't mean that I don't think you should. I think that everybody should support the idols that they love, but it's everybody's right to do that. So I can't hate on you, but it's unfortunate when you support someone in one group and refuse to support them in another group just because you may want that group to get back together. A lot of people didn't want to support IOI's new groups because they wanted IOI to get back together, and that's just really disrespectful, I think, to those idols because you're negatively affecting their careers and stuff. But objectively, you are not obligated to stan post-promotion groups. Never let anybody guilt you into it. It's a choice that you have to make, and that's all I have to say about that. My next opinion is that all groups deserve to be big. A lot of times, if a group is not doing well, or if they're underrated, or not getting a lot of views, or streams, or a music show wins, people will clamor about how that group deserves to be big and is more deserving than other groups in the big three and all that jazz. But every single group out there deserves to be the most popular group in the world, but there's just an oversaturation in the markets where it's not possible. These idols are sacrificing part of their young adulthood for this dream of theirs, and they all deserve to be extremely popular, making so much money and touring the world. And it's just unfortunately not a reality for the industry that I think we often forget. My next opinion is that visuals are necessary. When I mean this, I mean that you need to have visuals in a group. It just helps the group sell things when they have pretty members. It's an unfortunate reality of the commercialism within the K-pop industry. However, I think labeling people as visuals is unnecessary. When you go on a website that has people's, roles in the group and one member just is a visual, it's just like give them a vocalist. Say that they're a vocalist or something. Like don't just call them a visual. Then it just really discredits that idol and makes their presence in the group seem unworthy. So I think that visuals are necessary, but calling people visuals and having that be, what they are in the group is unnecessary. My next opinion is that Twice is the nation's girl group. For a long time, I tried to tell myself that Blackpink was the nation's girl group because I just thought they were more popular because they had more YouTube views. But there's so much more that goes into that. Twice is huge domestically. Blackpink is great, but they don't release music enough to be seen as the nation's girl group. I think you could even argue that Red Velvet is more of the nation's girl group than Blackpink is, just based on how they represent K-pop. But that's a topic for another day that I think I would have to look more into to actually make that a sound argument that I make. But I can very soundly say that Twice is the nation's girl group. They encompass what K-pop is right now. They release music regularly and they're just killing the game. My next opinion is that hitting a high note does not make you a good vocalist. There are so many YouTube compilations of survival shows or just idols in general of high note compilations that are used to help rationalize if someone is a good vocalist or not, and that's just not the case. Obviously, yes, it takes talent to hit a high note, but there's also so much technique that goes into being a good vocalist, and there's so many aspects of being a good vocalist that are not just being able to hit high notes. There are low notes, there's dynamics, there's conveying emotion, there's vocal tone. There are all these things that go into being a good vocalist that are not taken into account when we just talk about people's high notes. So I think it's important that we understand that just because someone can hit a high note, they're not automatically a great vocalist because they could be really hurting their vocal cords when they hit those high notes, and that's not good. My next opinion is that K-pop fans hold K-pop back. And what I mean is K-pop fans are pretty much the most visual part of the K-pop fandom, and a lot of times it can be seen as cringy the way that we act. I don't think K-pop fans should ever take shame in the way that they act, but they have to be cognizant of the fact that if you want the community to grow and you want people to start to stan groups and join the fandom, you need to represent the community in a presentable way rather than being embarrassing. And I think a lot of people forget that. And from an outsider perspective, it can be really unfavorable and like not a super great prospect to join the fandom just because of how cringy it can be. I think that's important to keep in mind because we want to support the industry, we want it to keep growing, and we need to act in accordance to those goals. My next opinion is that Queendom is a bad TV show. I just genuinely do not understand the idea behind a TV show that takes 6 well-established artists/groups and pits them against one another. It just drives me crazy. These groups all have different amounts of fans, and odds are the group with the most fans is going to be the one that wins. So it just seems like a weird show in general. I think the show would have worked a lot better if it had been rookie groups competing against one another who have less stable fan bases and can use that show to build their fan base exponentially and show what they are as a rookie group because they haven't necessarily proved themselves yet. I think that could have been a really meaningful show, but instead that's not what ended up being. I am so happy for the groups that are finding success through it and are furthering their careers based on the show. I just think that the concept of the show is a little bit off to me. There's also just been a lot of problematic things that have come from that show, so it's clearly not great, but I ain't got no power about it. That's just my opinion. My next opinion is that being a K-pop fan is rooted in privilege. A lot of this, what I mean, is financial privilege when it comes to buying albums or merchandise or anything like that for a group. It's expensive, and there's a big financial privilege and ability that is assumed by the K-pop industry just because of how commercial it is. They want us to buy things, and they want us to buy more than one thing. When they make an album, they have 3 different versions, so you have to buy all 3 because you want to collect them all. Like, that's berserk. That can cost $60, $70, $80 to buy those albums, and that's from one group during one release, and there's multiple releases throughout a year. It's expensive if you want to buy the albums, and then fans that don't buy albums feel like they're missing out because they don't get photo cards and they don't have the photo books and all that. And so it's important to understand that if you're a K-pop fan that's able to buy those things, that you recognize the privilege that comes with that and that you acknowledge that. And don't blindly tell people to buy those albums if they can't afford them. I have bought a couple, and I really try and limit myself because of how expensive they are, but I also recognize that I still have financial privilege that allows me to buy those albums and still be comfortable financially. And I hope that any of y'all out there that are considering buying albums do not do it in a way that will hurt you financially. So that's just a little soapbox I wanted to stand on because I think it's not talked about enough, and I want it to be talked about. My next opinion is that the Revi Festival or Revi Festival is Red Velvet's best era. This is with Zimzalabim and Oompa Oompa, those title tracks from the 2 mini albums that have come out so far. It's just really exciting having this whole festival idea. I'm super excited for the final day, day 3. Hopefully it comes out before the end of the year. I have bought day 1 and day 2 and will definitely buy day 3 just because I want to have that full set of the festival because I love the album art for it so far and love the whole concept. I think it's been really cool. It's probably been my favorite Red Velvet concept. It's kind of the one that I've gotten to witness come out as I've been an actual fan of the K-pop industry and stuff like that. I'm just really enjoying it. It looks like the girls are having so much fun. They're experimenting with new things, even if it's a little bit basic. I'm loving it a lot. It's a very cool era to be experiencing, and they're releasing music so soon within one another and being so consistent, which is really cool. And I'm just really enjoying this time right now as a Red Velvet stan. My final opinion for this video is that CLC will never get big. CLC is a girl group under Cube Entertainment, which is the same entertainment company that has Idol, and I think it's just unfortunate. CLC is Idol's senior group, but CLC will probably never get big since Idol is so big already. CLC has been pushing out music for a long time, and I'm so happy that Cube is still giving them music, despite the fact that they haven't taken off like Idol, but I just don't see them becoming a big staple group in the K-pop world. I think they're always going to be underrated, which is so unfortunate. I think they're really trying to prove that they're a versatile group by constantly doing different concepts, but the girl crush concept is what works best for them. A dark concept has been so amazing, and that's when they got their first win. And so I think that's what they need to keep going with. I would love to see CLC get big. I think they're so talented. I love a lot of their songs, but I'm just trying to be realistic with this opinion. It's an unpopular one, but I just don't see them getting big just because the fan base isn't there. And at this point, I think it's probably too late for it to come, but I really hope that they prove me wrong. So that's all of my opinions that I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below any of your unpopular opinions or your thoughts on my opinions, and subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated. I've really enjoyed making these videos so far. Sorry if I sound kind of stuffed up. I'm currently getting over a little tiny sickness that I had that had me really, really stuffed up. So my voice might sound a little bit different in this video just because I'm getting over that. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Drop any video ideas you have down below. and I will see y'all next time. Goodbye.